Coming up on this week's Elder Scrolls Weekly, Bethesda confirm a monthly subscription fee, we discuss what it means for console and PC gamers, and we've got the third episode of the Cabbage List. It's all coming up on this week's Elder Scrolls Weekly. Hello everyone and a warm welcome to this week's Elder Scrolls Weekly, and this week we're going to be looking at the subscription fee. We've got a full house this week, I've written here Tribunal Temple, because we've got three of us, because we're joined by producer Dan Wheeler. Hello. And Mr. Andy Kelly.
Hello.
And I'd already kind of worked out that probably you were Vivek, because he's like a warrior poet, Andy, which is pretty cool.
I'm down with that.
And Dan sort of tinkers behind the scenes as the producer, so that would make you Soft the Sill, the kind of clockwork god, which just leaves Almalexia, Lady of Mercy, which is...
I've always thought of you as a Lady of Mercy, actually.
It's the bodice, merciful, isn't it? Okay. Let's stop that right there and go straight on to the subscription fee. So we know UK price is going to be £8.99, £9, £14.99 in America and £12.99 in the rest of Europe. So UK people, that's clocking up to £108 a year. Initial thoughts?
Well, it's about the same as World of Warcraft, so they had a chance to do something different and go, it's £5 a month. But, see, if they come out and said it's £5 a month, that would have sounded psychologically so much better than £9, even though it's only a couple of quid more. But yeah, they've just gone down the World of Warcraft route.
What do you think, Dan?
I don't really know. I mean, I've had a look on forums and chat rooms and stuff to try and get a feel of what the general opinion is for this, and it seems to be fairly split.
It's very mixed, isn't it?
There's a lot of people saying, I'm so glad there's going to be no microtransactions. If that's the case, there's kind of an assumption at this point. And other people saying, well, I want the option. Give me the base game for free, and then I will go and buy stuff as a loyalty to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing to consider, is that you are going to be purchasing the full game on top of your monthly subscription.
Yes, and you get 30 days trial, right?
So essentially, without wishing to be too mean, you're paying the price of the full game for a 30-day trial, and then you're paying your monthly fee after that.
But then it's always been the same though with MMOs. You've got to buy the game, like the content of the game, to make up for the development budget. They've got to make that money back somehow.
Yeah.
And they aren't breaking any tradition now, because you have to buy World of Warcraft, you have to buy the expansions, and then on as well as buying a subscription. So,
Andy, you've played World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2 with different payment models. Would you say that paying a monthly fee allows for more regular updates or greater things like that?
Arena Soft have proven that in Guild Wars 2 you only buy the game and it's free. They have tons of events and their updates and dedication to doing lots of events and special things proves that you don't really I don't they might be doing it at a massive loss and it might be crushing the company, but I mean they're still going strong, and Guild Wars 2 is brilliant, and it feels like there's every time I log on, like after an extended period of not playing it, there's some new world event going on or some new update or something. So they're gonna have to justify the heck out of that 10 quid, that 9 quid or whatever, by constantly giving new stuff for us to do and changing stuff and fixing stuff. And if Guild Wars can do all that for no subscription fee, then for a tenner, ZeniMax Online better have something bloody special up their wizard's sleeve.
And conversely as well, with the big stuff with WoW, in addition to you paying your subscription, the expansions are paid for anyway. It's a bizarre sort of difference between the two setups. We'll have to
it's like the fee is like your license to play it, and the buying the updates is you buying the content that they created, like buying the game, whereas the subscription fee is your license.
You're suggesting that Guild Wars gives you both of those things?
You buy Guild Wars for 40 quid or whatever, and then you don't have to worry about committing to a subscription fee. You can not play it for 6 months and come back, and your characters will be there, and the world will have changed and stuff, but you'll still be there. All your levels will be there.
I was going to come back to this later. We might as well do it now. Like, how successful do you think this game needs to be in terms of subscriber base when you look at how much it's cost to make? Because I saw one figure. knocked about this. I think it was a guesstimate of it costing about $100 million to make.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft subscription base is dropping rapidly, so it's down to about 8 million now.
Yeah.
Is this going to come close to that, and does it need to come close to that for them to recoup their costs, or will the initial sales?
I don't know. Actually, the world of the MMO, the economics of MMO development are alien to me, but I don't think they're going to get as many players as WoW, because WoW went beyond just being a game and became like a cultural icon. It was that South Park episode, it's like it's a thing even non-gamers go, oh, World of Warcraft, I don't want to lose my life to that, and Chuck Norris doing adverts for it, and yeah, it's WoW's gone beyond, like it's a cultural thing, it's not just a game. I don't think Elder Scrolls Online is going to have the same cultural impact, so they're not going to get as many people playing it. But also it's World of Warcraft, like most PCs can run it. The graphics are really stripped down. I mean, they've updated it recently with new fancy shaders and stuff, but you can, with all that off, even like your mum's old Dell PC can run World of Warcraft. But this is like, more of a high-end game, so that's another barrier to entry.
So we'll sort of park that there because we're just going to speculate endlessly on that. It's quite a difficult question. Just looking briefly at their alternatives again, Matt Figueroa sort of said that the alternative of having microtransactions is immersion breaking, and that when you're in the game and you're in the world and you're faced with something that clearly is like a real world option to charge you money during the game, will immediately take you out of that fiction. Is that something you think's true? Is that enough of a reason not to, or is it enough of a reason to charge people a monthly fee?
Not personally. I don't think seeing a pound icon on a menu somewhere is going to draw me out of the experience, because it's not there constantly.
Yeah, and that's why they always call it something else as well, like it's gems and Guild Wars.
Yeah.
They hide it with some fiction, no matter how clumsy it is. But I don't know, if you're not going to use them, then you'll probably never see it. So I don't know.
Guild Wars, I guess, is different again, because, correct me if I'm wrong, like can you convert in-game currency into gems if you pull the time in? Is it possible, or will you always have to?
No, you can only buy gems, and it's the same with EVE Online's. They've got like a separate currency that's for buying cosmetic items, and again, it's worked into the fiction. It's like a sort of like an elite currency, elite space bucks or something. But yeah, it's like, I don't think it doesn't shatter the illusion in EVE Online, and doesn't shatter the illusion in Guild Wars. So.
One of the reasons that a lot of the people on the forums are quite positive about it, because there's a surprising amount of positivity, especially on the official Elder Scrolls forum, far less so in sort of comments on like PC Gamer and CVG and places like that.
Yeah.
Is that it will improve the quality of the community, and having played WoW, I'm not entirely convinced that it will. What do you guys think about that? Are you less likely to get sort of trolls and spammers and gold farmers on a server where you actually have to pay to be there, or are you more likely?
Well, you still got all those people on World of Warcraft, so
exactly.
Yeah, you can't stop the Chinese gold farmers.
I guess to a degree, there's at least there's some barrier for entry. It's not going to, if it's not free to play right from the off. You can't just download it in your browser. Yeah. So that initial barrier of entry does. I guess maybe for the first couple of months, you'll only get the people that are really interested in it, going for it.
If you've played a free-to-play game that's easily accessible, you'll know that it gets flooded with griefers and just people there causing a hassle.
And it depends. It depends as well how popular it gets. The bigger it gets, if it becomes a cultural thing, then it just gets mass market appeal and saturates to everybody.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with WoW, isn't it? Is that we look at it as a place that's full of gold farming, but I mean, as Andy said, it's because it's a cultural phenomenon. Like, it's a way to make money more than just a game, so there's another reason for people to be there other than just to play it.
You'll see there's certain parts of World of Warcraft where you'll see like a level 1 player mysteriously, robotically moving back and forth between mining nodes, and that's like harvesting bots that some guy in China's got a room full of 100 PCs all running separate WoW accounts, harvesting gold and sharing it between accounts and stuff. So
it's a uniquely disappointing feeling when you're on a PvP server and you kill someone that doesn't fight back. Oh god, they're just a bot.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot. Someone will suss out how to game Elder Scrolls Online eventually, and it'll turn in, you'll get like those websites and people selling gold on eBay and all that, but that's just part of the horrible and brilliant world of MMOs.
So we look at some of the other things you'll actually be paying for. So you're looking at customer support and sort of constant interaction with the people that are running, and obviously server costs. Is that a legitimate enough reason, do you think?
Well, to pay like all the customer support people, all the in-game GMs, all the developers making new content, all the execs wanting their paycheck. I mean, that's a lot of. I wouldn't be surprised if it was running at a loss initially,
right?
Until they start shifting copies. They'll do like a reduced price digital version that you'll be able to buy off the website, and that'll probably get a big boost in sales, because whenever WoW brings out a new expansion, it gives away vanilla WoW and the early packs for like $5.
Yeah.
So you can get like, you know, someone who's always been toying with the idea of playing it will go, oh, well, it's only $5. So,
yeah, I've done that in the past. Yeah,
I think it adds to the expectation of the game as well. You know, if you know you're going to be paying £9 a month, you expect the service to be working regularly. You don't expect to be in queues all the time.
It'll be interesting to see that. Yeah, if every MMO I've played in the last few years, there's been queues at launch, and Guild Wars, like most things, did it right by putting these overflow servers where they just dump you in like a waiting room, like a limbo server, and you can still do quests and stuff while waiting for the main server to open up.
Right.
But Old Republic, I was just sitting staring at the server screen for up to 40 minutes just to log on to meet people, because, you know, like the server I'd picked inevitably was busy, so it was like, oh, I bought this game, I've bought a subscription, and it's I'm waiting 40 minutes to play it. So, well, it's all one server on Elder Scrolls Online, so
yeah, it's the mega server.
That's going to be interesting, because you're going to get that mega server is going to be heaving.
Yeah, stretched to breaking point.
Yeah, you know, well, it depends on how interested people are in the game.
That's a good point you mentioned about the Old Republic, because that is evidence that, you know, these models can change. So Star Wars: The Old Republic came out and it was a monthly fee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much it was, but
it was around about £9 again.
But that obviously didn't catch on. You know, they weren't getting the audience they wanted with it, and so they said, right, we're going to switch it. Yeah. It's now free up until
level 20.
But
they made it really stingy, like for free players. Like, you only got one quick slot bar. Like, they made you feel like an outcast. It was really bad. Like, it was, you know, because classic EA. Like, they didn't want to be too generous, so they went, well, you can play for free up to level 20, but you can only, there was limitations. Like, you can only hold a certain amount of items. You can only have one quick slot bar. So
you're like a sort of hobbling one-armed Jedi with no backbone.
Yeah. And then like they went, oh, all right, you can have 2 quick slot bars, and then like they realised that, yeah, oh, with these quick bars you're really spoiling us.
Embarrassment of riches.
but is that still better than nothing?
Oh, so
having that entry level of just
definitely.
Try it, because, you know, if you're going to start splashing down £10 a month, you need to know that you like the game first.
No, definitely. They will do that. I think we said in the previous episode that they will eventually make it free to play. That's the MMO life cycle is subscription, then dwindling numbers, then free to play.
It's amazing that WoW hasn't reached that point.
Yeah. Oh well, WoW is free to play now to level 20.
Yeah,
and you can but then it's limited. You can only you can go like the new panda race.
Yeah.
With a free account, but you can't go as new classes, the new monk class or whatever, so even that's limited, but it is up to level 20, but that's cleverly when you get your mount in WoW. So people will play up to level 20 and they'll go, well, if you want to get your mount, you're going to have to get a subscription, and like throwing the credit cards at it. Of course you would,
yeah. I mean, that's when the game begins. Yeah. I was going to come back to this later, we'll talk about it now, because you mentioned the Old Republic. There was a thing on PC Games then about the amount of paid for MMOs that have just sort of dwindled and end up going free.
Yeah, or dying altogether, like Tabula Rasa, remember that? By Richard Garriott, the Ultima guy. He did like a sci-fi MMO, just died on its arse. And didn't Star Trek Online die, or has that gone free to play? No, that's gone free to play. Star Trek Online.
So I mean, you've also got Old Republic. You've got Lord of the Rings Online, Rift, Terra, all games that, I mean, in the Old Republic's case, it you know, how long did it last? Sort of far under a year, I think, wasn't it?
6 months.
Yeah. Because when I first started playing it, it was packed. It was, you know, all my mates were playing it. It was brilliant. But then you realise that the game was the game got really shit quite fast.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great game, was it?
Once you'd cleared Tatooine and, you know, done the starting area, you know, like, it felt really Star Wars in it. It was like, hey, you're on Alderaan now. And it's just like, it could be any World of Warcraft forest. Like, it was so boring, and that it just lost all of its kind of momentum.
That's the problem with Star Wars, isn't it? It's entire planets with one, like the desert planet, because they exist. So one thing that Matt said was that, you know, just because other people are doing it wrong doesn't mean that we won't do it right. Are you convinced by that? Can they do it when other people have failed?
Well,
I think we'll have to wait and see.
I don't want to speculate, but Matt Fearoy has worked on MMOs before, so maybe he's learned a few hard lessons.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that definitely knows what he's doing, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole team were hired based on their MMO expertise. So, but you know, if the Old Republic, which cost something like ridiculous, like about as much money as Pacific Rim cost to make, and that, you know, that died on its arse, fell on its lightsaber, then you know, it's a cruel. The MMO space is a cruel space.
Yeah, it is, and weirdly, it's
ruthless.
Speaking of ruthless, I mean, the next thing I've got down here is, if we talk about consoles, and in talking about that, you're going to be talking about a lot of big games that are going to be doing very amazing things for free. So,
yeah.
So, like, obviously, PC gamers are just going to have the subscription, but potentially all console gamers, certainly all the serious ones that are involved in next gen, are going to be paying. They're going to be playing their Gold subscription or their PlayStation Plus subscription.
So you'll need that to play Elder Scrolls Online.
You'll need it, yeah. And presumably you'll have the entire cost of this on top of it. And there was one quote I saw where Matt said, we'll talk about further discounts later. So that could either be like cut down rates for people that have premium packages, or perhaps cheaper annual subscriptions.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, but I mean, is that a realistic prospect that people are going to be paying for both?
I think that'll happen. I think it'll be short-sighted of them, but they'll do it, and that means you'll be paying for your PlayStation Plus, you'll be paying for the game, you'll be paying for your console, you'll be paying for monthly subs fee. It's like, who's got that much money?
I think there might be a split, you know, between Xbox One and the PS4. Xbox One, you know, you need live for everything.
Yeah, even to use Netflix. Even if you've got a Netflix account you pay for, you still need Gold to use it.
And that's a given, and everyone accepts that to a point. And then with PS4, paying for PS Plus has only just started to include multiplayer, and they've said apps are still free and free-to-play games are still free.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just pay the subscription.
Yeah, maybe.
And not have a PS Plus account.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There might be a workaround there that they'll be more open-minded to than I think Microsoft would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seem to vaguely remember something along those lines that encompassed this. So, and I don't actually know what Final Fantasy are doing, because obviously that sort of falls under the same model. So I think that's something we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, sticking with consoles, like, there's a lot of stuff coming up that's going to have some really, really incredible online MMO style content. And if you look at stuff like the big multiplayer games like Destiny and Titanfall, which I know are a little bit different, we don't know yet too much about Destiny. I'm assuming that there's going to be no fee for that.
I wouldn't think so.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. And even like GTA coming out this year,
that's the big one, isn't it? Really,
that's like a shrunken down MMO server to a point. You know, you've got 16 players running around in one world.
Yeah,
you're not paying any more for that.
Rockstar won't charge for it. I mean, they're making enough money out of the game anyway, and it sells 8 million copies or whatever.
And everything about that, you know, even to the fact that it's released, you know, a few weeks after release, is saying like, you complete the single player game and then you just play this multiplayer game for the rest of forever. And that's probably the reality of it, is that that's going to take up so much of people's multiplayer time. Like, there's a lot of competition here in the multiplayer world, and inevitably with MMOs there's always that feeling of it feeling like it's a PC game that's been wedged onto a, you know, console sort of network. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this competes if people have got additional fees and the lure of sort of those big games.
I can't really think of any MMOs that have really taken off on console.
No, there aren't any.
No.
I mean, apart from going back a bit, Phantasy Star Online on Dreamcast.
Crikey, that is going back.
Yeah, I mean that was very streamlined and aimed at consoles. I mean, they released Final Fantasy 11 on PS2, which I reviewed back in the day. And we had to import a hard drive from Japan plug it into the PlayStation 2 and get a Japanese Play Online account and all that, and yeah, it was rubbish.
Did you play DC Universe Online?
No. That was on consoles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's free to play now on PC. I don't know if it is on consoles, but I don't know. It looked like the most generic MMO ever, but with Batman in it.
It absolutely was. I think. Yeah. I mean, that sort of familiar grind of it was kind of fun, but it definitely felt like it was, it was just giving you the absolute base level MMO experience.
Well, see, I think with some sensible control mapping, Guild Wars 2 would work really nice on console because it's quite streamlined, and there's not much. The only things that would be tricky would be like inventory management, but you could just do like some smart people could come up with a good controller interface, and if the Guild Wars 2 on next gen would do really well, I think. But
I think they've almost done the same with Diablo 3. I mean, I know it's not the same game type, but the interface is similar to an MMO.
Yeah, it's got the quick
the
bar
hotbar and the inventory, and they've mapped that to a pad fine.
Yeah, I think it would totally work. I don't know, it's probably risky financially, but yeah, I think this Elder Scrolls Online would be a good introduction to MMOs for console people if they get the controller mapping right. It's got to feel, but it's going to be using the same. It'll feel more like familiar to Elder Scrolls fans because you're using the triggers like for your left hand and your right hand, and it's the same character movement and the same.
Yeah, I really think that's the direction it has to take now, as far as its marketing push goes.
Yeah,
this needs to be aimed at people that loved Skyrim on console.
It's got a new Elder Scrolls adventure, the biggest one yet, online.
Yes.
It's online.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. I don't know if it was the same when you played it, but there were elements that I saw in it that definitely felt like they were there to make it easier for console players. There were sort of selection wheels and things like that felt quite Skyrim-y. I mean, but that's the big question, I guess, is the Elder Scrolls is massively popular and people are properly fervent about it. I think between all of us here, we've spent an enormous amount of time playing it, and I definitely sound like a genuine fanboy to the point that I'm actually interested in the background story. Do you think people are fervent enough about it to make this a success even in spite of subscriptions? Because you've got two brilliant examples of one that's worked in World of Warcraft. So Warcraft 1, 2, 3 was enough to get people really excited, and it's a bit different because it was the first, or one of the first really big ones, and it's a complete success. I think that's fair to say. And on the other hand, you've got Star Wars, which is people are equally as passionate about, which hasn't worked. Does this fall squarely in the middle? Can it do it?
I think there's a very small percentage of Elder Scrolls fans that are so invested in the lore and the story that they can't miss this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was the majority. The massive success of Elder Scrolls is because it's one of the only big fat RPGs you can get on consoles. Traditionally that type of big sprawling epic is PC based, and Elder Scrolls transcended that because you can play it on an Xbox. So
that's the reason I bought one. I couldn't afford a mega PC, and Morrowind's the way in.
Same here. I bought an Xbox 360 so I could play Oblivion. Before I had a PC. But yeah, so I think I don't think it's going to have that much broad appeal, and also the subscription thing puts people off. It's just not as accessible as the main games, and I think that'll work to its detriment. But obviously people who like us, who spend ages on the UESP wiki reading about lore and background, will probably buy it anyway. But there's people who, I think the barriers of entry is too many of them for some people.
Are you a bit more positive, Dan?
About what?
Just generally about its chances of really winning people over in spite of a subscription?
I sort of hope it does, because it's a franchise that deserves love and attention, and I hope they keep building on it. I think the danger again is that because it's a prequel set so many hundreds of years before the console games, it has no effect on what will be the next proper Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls 6. So you could miss it and it wouldn't have any effect on the last 10-15 years of the games that you've been playing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel to me like part of the main series. It's like how Final Fantasy 11, I don't count that as a real Final Fantasy, and even though they numbered it and ruined the whole sequence. I don't, in my head, I don't see Final Fantasy 11 as a proper Final Fantasy game. I think in my head this isn't a proper's probably not the right word, but it's not an Elder Scrolls game as in the pantheon of proper Elder Scrolls games. You know, it's like a spin-off.
Yeah, I don't think that's a controversial point of view. I think that's absolutely fair. I think the two can coexist happily. But
yeah,
it's quite similar to the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic, I guess, isn't it? I mean, that was a very popular series, and the Old Republic came along and might have taken some of their audience with it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't solely for them.
Yeah. So I don't think it's not Elder Scrolls 6 to me. It's, you know, something else.
It's surprising how many people are worried that this spells the end of the single player experience, and in no way do I think it does.
No, it doesn't, because the Elder Scrolls series is massively lucrative, and also the set up a new studio. It would be worrying if Bethesda Softworks were taking off and making an MMO, but that's why they've created a new studio. Yeah. So Bethesda Softworks right now are working on new Fallout and new Elder Scrolls. And I don't know what stages they're at, but they are working on them.
I'd sort of guess that Fallout's a little bit further along than the Elder Scrolls. So I'm going to be devil's advocate, and I'm not going to say that I sort of punched the air with my fist when I heard that I was going to have to pay to play it. But I think it does mean that they're committed to it. You know, there's more of a chance of it being of a sustainable level of quality.
Yeah. I'll give them 2 months. I'll give them 2 months. I'll pay £9 2 months in a row, and if nothing feels like it's evolving and changing, then I'm gonna go. Nah. Take my £9 back.
There you go, Bethesda. Andy Kelly's giving you 2 months.
An ultimatum. That's what they need.
Cool. Right, I think we've covered that in about as much depth as we can, which leads us on to episode 3 of the Cabbage List. Do you want to give us a bit of a lead into this, Andy?
Yeah, well, I think Rags to Riches fans, there's a little surprise in this episode. Not a surprise so much as, well, it's a surprise for something, but there's a little moment here that Rags to Riches fans will like. Otherwise, it's just more secrets, things you might not have seen when you played Skyrim, and just Olaf generally having fun in the wastes of Skyrim.
He's earned it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't get naked this time. It's the first episode where he doesn't strip down to his dirty grundies. So ladies and men, you don't get too excited about seeing naked Olaf again. It's
a bit of a flaw with the series is that you can buy a fine hat, but like as rich as you are, you're always just wearing soiled peasant kecks.
Yeah, the next Elder Scrolls needs custom underwear.
Yeah,
like sort of silken pantaloons and stuff.
Yeah. On that note, there you go. Episode 3.
On that bombshell, please enjoy episode 3 of the Cabbage List. Now, it's been 25 years since we last saw Olaf. He's been living a peaceful life with his wife Gilfrey. He's getting old, and he thinks that before he goes, there are some things left in Skyrim that he has to do. So he's put them in a list. That list is the Cabbage List. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Cabbage List. Now, on the way to the next thing on his list, Olaf finds himself in the plains around Whiterun, his old stomping ground, so he decides to hunt some elk for old time's sake and pulls off one of his famous patented Olaf ass shots. He's still got it even though he's an old man. Now, the next thing on the list is a legend Olaf heard about the fossilised remains of a giant mud crab, and lo and behold, the thing turns out to be true. It's an impressive looking creature, albeit a dead one, protected by a few of its smaller buddies, but Olaf has no problems taking them out. It's a shame we didn't get a chance to fight this big fella, but it's still an impressive sight nonetheless. And as ever, Olaf drops a cabbage to say he was here. His calling card. And he heads off to the next thing on the Cabbage List. Now the next thing on the list are the mysterious puzzle pillars, which aren't actually marked on the map, but once again they're on the plains around Whiterun. Mysterious pillars with animal symbols on, and next to this kind of cage with a impressive looking chest beneath it. Now Olaf is not a smart man, but the ancient Nords were not known for their particularly complex puzzle designs, so he manages to suss this one out. And he turns the last pillar, and now, when he presses the switch, the cage should open. And it does, open sesame. There's a dead man down there. He was probably the guy who set the puzzle, and rest in peace. And, well, there's some alright loot in the chest, nothing amazing, but it's all about the joy of solving the puzzle. And we drop a cabbage in there for the next adventurer who comes along. And we reset the puzzle because, you know, we don't want to make it too easy for the next person on a similar pilgrimage as Olaf. And on we head with Cabbage 2 nipping at our heels as ever. Now the next thing on the Cabbage List is a place of extreme beauty, one of the many in Skyrim. It is a cavern called Eldergleam Sanctuary, which is part of a quest in Skyrim, but since Olaf is not the questing sort, he's just going there to admire the beautiful natural scenery. Even dark, gloomy caves are capable of impressing you in Skyrim, such as its otherworldly, beautiful nature. Quite an impressive sight. And once again Olaf drops a cabbage in the glistening waters of Eldergleam Sanctuary. And that's another thing scratched off his list. And so he heads onwards to the next challenge that awaits him on the Cabbage List. So that was the Cabbage List episode 3. 3 more things struck off the list. Ended with some beautiful scenery there. Skyrim is a beautiful place, even in a dark, smelly cave. There is beauty to be found.
So profound, man.
Yeah.
It's looking quite sharp this season. Have you upgraded your PC?
Yeah, it's running. I recorded the first series on my inferior work PC. This one's been recorded on my home PC. Yeah, I've got it on Ultra, but it's also at 720p, so it doesn't look maybe as crisp as. That's a limitation of my hard drive's capability for video. But, yeah, and a lot of people have been saying I should install loads of mods to make the graphics better, and I am thinking about that. But I think it might be too weird to suddenly go from like from normal vanilla Skyrim to super ENB injected.
I guess it depends on what you get as well. You don't really want dancing bears.
Yeah. You could probably get your silken pantaloons.
Yeah,
that'd probably be out.
Oh yeah, the silken pantaloons mod.
It just seems to be against the ethos of Olaf of simplicity as well. You know.
Yeah, well, he's a simple man, isn't he? As we've said many times. simple game for a simple man.
A simple man who you can follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That link.
And I don't know if it was because of our plea last time, but he's just hit 1,000 followers. So
fantastic.
So brilliant. So yeah, follow Olaf on at Olaf Skyrim. I post little teasers for the episodes there, little images and screenshots.
But,
and
well,
stuff.
Olaf does. You don't.
I know, yeah. Olaf does. Yeah.
He's more popular than me on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I think he's probably more popular than both of us combined, which is probably the saddest thing I've ever heard. Sad and brilliant. And on the subject of Twitter, if you follow us on Tamriel Herald as well, you'll get the latest news about the show and just Elder Scrolls stuff in general. So please, as ever, hit subscribe now. The annotation is on the screen. And we're really interested to hear what you think about the subscription, like which of you are in, who of you are out, what format you're likely to get it on, and if you pay for this on top of a premium service subscription as well.
Yeah, let's if you leave some thoughts in the comments, we'll read them out in the next episode.
That's a very good idea. Let's do that. Okay then, thanks very much again for joining us, and we will see you at the same time next week.